The first historians, how memory became history. Before humans ever wrote down their history, they spoke it. Passed from one generation to the next, these stories weren't just bedtime tales. They were the records of entire civilizations. From the myths of the Aboriginal Dreamtime to the epic chants of the Homeric Greeks, oral traditions shaped how we understood the past. But can memory be trusted? Can a story passed down for hundreds or even thousands of years still tell the truth? This is the story of how memory became history. The power of the spoken word. Before writing, there was the voice. Every culture relied on oral storytelling through spoken word, songs, poetry, or performance. Take the Homeric epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey. These weren't books at first. They were sung, performed by bards who memorized tens of thousands of lines. In Australia, Aboriginal Dreamtime stories go back 40,000 years. Some even describe landscapes and sea levels from the Ice Age. Some stories were pure myth. Others, they may be real history, preserved in memory. The keepers of history. Not just anyone could be a storyteller. Many societies had official keepers of history. In West Africa, the griots were living libraries, holding the history of entire dynasties. Among the Celts, bards and druids memorized genealogies, laws, and great battles. In the Americas, the Iroquois Confederacy's great law of peace was passed down orally for centuries before being written down. These figures were respected, powerful, and essential because losing them meant losing history itself. The problem with memory. But here's the issue. Human memory is unreliable. How often have you told a story and realized you left out a detail, or someone else remembers it differently? Now, imagine that happening over decades, centuries, even millennia. The telephone effect. Over time, stories evolve, change, and get exaggerated. Political influence. Rulers shape stories to make themselves look better. Religious retellings. Many histories were told through religious texts, often mixing fact with belief. So how do we separate myth from history? Oral traditions that got history right. Some oral traditions have proven stunningly accurate. Hawaiian volcanic eruption stories match real geological events from centuries ago. Norse oral history described Vinland, a mysterious western land, now believed to be real Viking settlements in North America. Aboriginal stories of rising seas align with Ice Age flooding 10,000 years ago. Sometimes memory is stronger than we think. The first attempts to write history. Eventually, memory wasn't enough. Writing changed everything. Around 5,000 years ago, the Sumerians wrote the first known historical records in cuneiform. The Egyptians recorded pharaohs' reigns on stone and papyrus. The Chinese developed detailed dynastic records. Oral tradition didn't die, but writing challenged it. Now history could be recorded permanently. Oral traditions that still survive today. Despite writing, oral traditions never disappeared. Many cultures still pass down history by word of mouth. Native American storytelling preserves cultural identity. West African griots still recite centuries-old lineages. Indigenous Australian songlines encode sacred and historical knowledge. Even today, family stories, legends, and spoken histories shape how we understand our past. The future of oral history. Today, oral history is making a comeback. Recorded interviews preserve the voices of witnesses, from Holocaust survivors to Vietnam War veterans. Digital archives store spoken testimonies from cultures worldwide. Podcasts and storytelling platforms keep the tradition of spoken history alive. Even with books, videos, and the internet, we still rely on spoken history. The legacy of oral history. So what's the truth? Can memory be history? The answer, yes and no. Oral history evolves, distorts, and changes, but it also preserves what writing sometimes forgets. It's not just about facts, it's about how societies remember themselves. And as long as people tell stories, history will always have a voice. Closing. Oral history was the first form of history, and in many ways it's still with us. But when we moved into the age of written records, history itself transformed. In our next episode, we'll explore the first written histories, from the Sumerian kings to Herodotus, the father of history. Because history isn't just what happened, it's how we remember it.